going to be talking about how the reality of today's situation is affecting your body, your health, and your consciousness. Today, we're going to dive deep into that, and we're also going to be resolving some one-on-one situations with people that are where pain and dysfunction in their bodies being caused by their emotions. It's going to be a very powerful live today. It's the 1st of November, and it is step 8. Today is a day where you're deciding to make connections with yourself, how you're going to treat yourself, how you're going to show up with yourself. Today, you might get a little bit testy. You might want a little bit of social justice. You probably want to be heard today, and you're drawing boundaries around what that looks like. So it's going to be a powerful day, and it is Wednesdays with Raw Reality. We've got Raw of Earth coming up here in a few minutes. So just put in the comments where you're from. And hello, Ethos PT, all the way from Calgary. Hi, Mark. How you doing? Hi, Maura. Maura, it's time to talk to you again. Maura, you coming to Costa Rica with us, Maura? I don't know. Are you? Yeah, put in where you're from. Sweden, from India. Wow, and you guys give me a bunch of likes down here. We're bringing up Raw in a second. Maura from Sacramento. Gemini from Sacramento. What I know about Geminis, they're doing something, and then they're doing something else. Hi from Toronto. That's the opposite of me. I'm the same way, but just in a different way. Hey, Hamburg, Germany. Actually, the hamburger was invented in Hamburg, Germany. I just found that out. Morning, everyone. Sarah from North Carolina, South Carolina, and all the Carolinas in between. Hey, Gabrielle, how you doing? Sweden, how you doing? Staten Island. Forget about it. Modesto. I had that joke yesterday. Somebody was talking with somebody from New York, and then it was Alzheimer's in New York, and I said, forget about it. You gotta laugh at life situations a little bit, especially when Alzheimer's is not a permanent disease. I see people curing themselves every freaking day. Netherlands, it's just a condition that you gotta work your way through. Traverse City, Michigan, Venezuela, Grand Rising. Hey, Mark Lou. Holding up Vancouver for us. Thank you, Mark. We'll be back there for Christmas a little bit, it looks like. Barbados. Can you talk to me about snoring? Yeah. It's loud. There's a combination on snoring. Actually, if you go back on our social media about a month ago, there's a post about snoring, but basically snoring is postural, is the first thing you want to look at. The occlusion, if your neck is like this when you lay down and you lay on a pillow, it goes like this and it closes the occlusion. So doing fascial maneuvers quite often restores snoring, do the upper reset and the lower reset day over day. Okay, let's bring up Raw Reality with Raw Birth. Here we go. This is going to be a great conversation today, guys. There's been so much going on. Hey, we've been...
Gary.
Raw, how you doing?
What's up?
What?
I just heard you talking about self, and people are going to be going through some awareness of self today.
Yes, awareness of how we treat ourselves, making decisions about it specifically. Like I want to be heard. I'm drawing my line here. Here's my boundary. I want to be recognized for what I did bring or what I did do. Those are all kind of interpretations of the energy today. Are you feeling that?
I'm feeling like talking about that. But let me, you want to be heard. Yeah. I mean, especially in this social media world, that's constantly in our sort of the mindset when we're sharing on here, and we are being heard. And the question constantly is how, like, is it valuable? And how can I reach more people? It's kind of like there's a balance there.
It's a magic question because what I think is valuable to me isn't always valuable to others. So we have this weekly content creators meeting where we're telling all of our, because we went from 0 to 2.5 million people on social media in 24 months with zero marketing, zero advertising, not doing anything traditional. And we did it based on really good content, which was basically giving messages that we believed in, highly that we believed in, that people resonated with. And And social media is a good one because people are now, instead of being heard in real life, they're being heard on social media, which doesn't equate to real life. Like I said on social media, why is everybody giving me a hassle when I haven't really said it to you, Raw, in person? And if I haven't said it to you, then to say, well, didn't you read my post today? That's what people are saying. Didn't you get what was going on in my life today?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a funny environment, but we're all here sort of bumping into each other and hopefully gaining value from each other. I feel that this is a step in ascension because we are reading each other's posts. I mean, maybe not everybody. I could be following 3,000 people, but only really see like 20 to 30 in my feed on a regular basis. But those 20 to 30, I'm understanding and feeling their emotions, and I'm registering their thoughts and even learning with them. And for me, when I look at the steps of ascension, where we go from an individual self to a collective unit of organisms on this planet, social media, even things like AI, all are facilitating, even if it's technology, even if it's fake, like you say, but it is like a training wheels version
Right.
of what we should be doing naturally.
Yeah, I've been around. So I was part of the generation that brought wireless communications to the world. So in the late 80s, I was moving wireless phones into the market.
Right.
By the way, that was a tough sell.
You
It was between $10,000 and $20,000 for a phone, $1 a minute, and people like in an office will go, "Young man, I've got a phone here in my office with 12 lines, and I got a phone in my home. Why would I ever need a phone in my car?" That was literally the conversation. And then it's like, yeah, but it'll make you more productive. Well, how much is that productivity costing me? Well, it's only $20,000, and this is in the early 90s, late 80s, and that $20,000 is like $250,000 today.
Oh wow. So
Yeah,
you were selling
yeah.
a
So it's like,
$250,000 cell phone.
yeah, Rod. I get a cell phone for you to make you more productive. It's going to cost you about $250,000. How
Well,
does that sound? And you're going like, well, wait a second here. How valuable? So in the early days, well, I guess the point was this: is I have this distinct memory that when I used to have this alone time in my car, I used to drive around businesses, sales, and those are the early days when I had young businesses, so I was the salesman too. I was out selling. And I remember exactly where I was driving, because I put this phone in my car. And then I used to listen to like cassette tapes back then. For those of you guys who don't know what cassette tape is, it's that thing that you wind, like there's a lot of people listening to this that have no freaking idea. So I used to listen to cassette tapes in my car, like Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill. I listened to tapes of motivation, of education. I used to educate myself in my car. And it was like a lot of reflection and alone time. And it was like how I processed. So I'd be like 3 hours a day in my car, 4 hours a day sometimes, and that was my processing time. And I put the cell phone in, and I remember, whoa, I'm so much more productive. But what I lost was that processing time myself.
right. Yeah. I mean, and we even before the tapes, there was taking a walk in the woods,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was even like a step before that where we would connect with the environment and feel the trees and feel the wind and reflect on the changes of the seasons and watch a snail crawling up a piece of grass. And the more jammed in with information, like we're learning to process more in a shorter amount of time. And I don't know if our ability to handle that bandwidth is moving along with the pace of this flow of information. It seems like we are able to advance, and I think we're resilient beings to begin with. But yeah, the information coming in is exponentially growing, and it can be distracting.
So there was an intuitive thing, okay, like, and you bring a good point. I think you grew up in California?
Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. You're kind of like me, but I grew up in northern Canada. the most northern city in Canada, still the most northern city today. It's Fort McMurray, Alberta. It's an oil mining city. So it's basically between 40 and 50 below zero in the winter.
Right.
And it's like 80 to 105 in the summer. And I remember distinctly once, I'm like, wow, it's going to rain today. It's cloudy. And I'm like, those ain't clouds. Those are mosquitoes. I mean, that's how thick it was, right? So I think part of my socialization and missing nature was I lived in such a god-awful place. And because I was trying to think, why was I so disconnected with nature? And because I didn't grow up technically in a city, but I grew up in this place that was just like, man, it was like survival games every day.
Yeah.
And by the way, ever seen that video where they take a bottle of water and they roll down a window and they cold water, they throw it out and it freezes right there?
I haven't seen that particular video.
It freezes within 90 seconds. The whole bottle of water freezes. You put it out the window and he brings it in. It's frozen, and like a bottle of Nestle water or whatever. And I'm like, that's where I grew up. So I remember like back then, though. So I didn't have that connection to nature, but we had this general connection to people. And if I couldn't get a hold of you for 2 or 3 days, I wasn't stressing out. Now with technology, if you don't answer my text within a couple hours, I'm like, is Raw okay? Is there something?
Yeah, you start making stories, right?
Yeah.
It goes into that spiral, and that's because of our perceptions are, if we're seeing the world as a threat or something to be feared, then anytime something like that happens that doesn't meet your expectation, you're going to run that program. And a lot of these programs, as you know, are stuck in the physical body. A lot of them are stuck in the mind, and there's triggers that onset them, and it's really up to us to override those programs. And I like to override them with mental exercises or asking myself questions like, what if? Or I take myself into worst case scenario. But there's lots of writing exercises that we can do to overwrite traumas in our life. And those are some of my favorite sort of mental exercises.
What kind of a writing exercise? Like, what does that look like?
So for instance, if you're experiencing any sort of trauma, or if somebody's mean to you and you get reactive, it has nothing to do with the other person, right? Because the words that they're saying have meaning to you. And that is where you can unravel that trauma, that program, and you can layer in another program. So for instance, one writing drill that's very profound is you pick somebody who you love and have hurt you. So all of us have somebody that we love, like let's say as a child when we were innocent. Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a brother, maybe it's somebody who is a teacher who didn't treat us right. And if we pin down that person and that trauma, someone who we love that abandoned us, someone who we love that was mean to us, and we journal for 10 minutes, right? We just free write 10 minutes, all the things, we just dump it out on paper. That makes you one with the moment, right? When we do that. And then we just kind of let that clear our system. And then the next, let's say 10 to 20 minutes, you now journal. This is the overwriting process. We now journal a conversation where it was different. Okay, and this doesn't mean that we're giving the person permission to do what they did to us, but we have a conversation back and forth with them on paper. So we're thinking about it, we're then putting it into action, and then we're seeing
and handwriting
this conversation,
it, right? Not
right.
typing it.
Like with a pencil.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean. Like it's the action of writing it down, and actually writing brings us back to childhood as well, because that's when we learned how to write. So we're writing it down and we just have a conversation where everything is exactly how you wished it to be. And that one exercise will literally teach you. It might not, let's say, heal. The exercise might not heal the trauma, but what it does is it teaches you. What was that?
There's some new teachers, you raise your hands, you did something, and I don't know how to do it, but it's
Yeah.
like,
But what it'll do is it'll teach you the difference of how you're viewing life based on this trauma and what could be, right? And so then you see the difference, the contrast. And if anything, if it doesn't, the overriding will work, but you teach yourself how to behave differently, how to program yourself differently in this way. And there's many, many,
so
many drills like
so
this.
so one of the things that I came to was explaining the body in a new way. Actually, we just had it's probably going to come out in a bunch of reels because we have the parents who are the team that are helping parents help children. Here we're getting ready to launch the program, and so I'm talking to them, and what we've done is we've developed new ways of understanding the body. Like, for example, we have 10 fingers, well, 8 fingers, 2 thumbs, and we have 10 toes. How come we don't call these thumbs, by the way? So we have
The big toe.
yeah, big toe. Well, this is my
It's the
big
foot
finger,
thumb.
my big finger, and my big toe. So each one of these is connected directly fascially. Now on the meridians, they have all the meridians in all the hand, but each one from Kundalini, you can find it connected to a planet, which is connected to an organ. And so that means that this is how I think upper register about my emotions, because we don't have emotions up here. And then these are how I feel, solar plexus, about my emotions. So this is my feeling brain. This is my thinking brain. And so when we do cursive, that's why printing was not like cursive was flowing, and it was actually an expression of our emotions. And as we started doing this, we no longer were able to express emotions. And you take a look, since the advent and integration of computer into everyday society, we become less and less capable of expressing our emotions at the same curve that we've stopped writing.
Yeah. Actually, cursive, it gets taught to us and then immediately forgotten.
Yeah,
right?
They don't even teach it anymore.
Oh, no?
No, they stopped teaching cursive because why would you need, and you think about it, it's part of a plan. I mean, for 40 years, they have targeted our education system, and that's why it's so weird right now. It's like because they had to grow people up and put them to school to become educators, to believe a certain way so that they could teach in their own consciousness, which took about 40 years of reprogramming society. And it's like Elon Musk said, I watched an interview the other day, and he goes, your kids are not getting the same education that you got. He says, you just think that they are, but you would not believe the level of social programming that's going on with your kids that wasn't existing when you were there. And this is Elon talking about it, because they're asking him like why he has a teacher and why doesn't he go to, Ivy League schools. And he says, because they have grown up, a generation of people have grown up to drive a narrative, and they're taught that this is a way to think about it.
Right. And it's getting stronger. I mean, there was still programming instilled into the school system from the inception of the school system. I mean, our entire school supply comes from Germany, right?
Yeah.
To produce, and it's to produce soldiers that listen to orders.
Well, actually, it's a combination. Germany for the higher education, like the learning, and then but the philosophy was mixed with, it's called Dung Gang. And Dung Gang is the one that they use in China. And the idea was to separate the philosophy of it was to separate the children from the parents as long as possible to initiate programming. So that's why when I was a kid, most people didn't go to university. But then all of a sudden it's go to university. Now you're away, instead of, at 16 or 17 out, now you're getting out at 25, 28. It's longer, and they're going into that Saturn return of 30 years. So they basically, our whole sense of how we operate in the world is in that first 30 years.
Right.
I learned that from Cynthia, and she has there's a book that people should read.
Yes, there's a book you should read. It's called The Underground History of American Education, and I think that they have maybe altered it a little bit because I ordered a new copy not that long ago. but it's written by John Taylor Gatto. And he was Teacher of the Year in the state of New York back in the 80s. And the book is very good. He also has a book called Dumbing Us Down. He has several books. I think you can find most of those. He used to have a website.
So what they've done is they've taken the philosophy of the Chinese Dungang system, and then they've added the German architecture. It was so perfectly done to craft and take us away, but then craft us into these robots. And that's why, like the MBA program, like when I've had several companies $0 to $50 million, and that's why MBAs can think within the construct, but when you get to the entrepreneurial situation, they typically fail.
Right.
As like an entrepreneur in an MBA, you know an entrepreneur in the MBA. It's the MBA quits when things get tough. The entrepreneur is like goes down with the ship or makes it work.
I've went down with a couple ships.
Yeah, I have, dude. You know, like I've had 13 businesses. I've had, like I said, 2 that went to 50 million from scratch. But I had 13. That means out of the 13, I've had about 5 that had millions go in that just went down.
Right. Yeah. You just lose everything. And you know you're going down and you just think like, there's got to be a way out of this. I've only got 1 month of spend left, but I'm going to make it work. And then it's like, I only have 2 weeks left. Okay, let's end this.
That was, by the way, that was the Rubenstein Center. It was the Human Garage was successful right from day one. Like we did our work in the garage and we moved to an apartment, and we had a 800 square foot Lincoln Place Apartments in Venice, and we had 800 square foot apartment, and we were doing 3 practitioners were working in there, 2 in the living room, 1 in the room, and we were doing $75,000 a month worth of treatment in that apartment.
You know, I just spoke to somebody yesterday who used to see you guys, and he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I used to pay $4,000. There would be for like 22 sessions, something like that. There would be multiple people working on me, and he's like, I think that they're even more higher. And now he was telling me like what it was 5-6 years ago, and how you guys have to be charging even a lot more now and even more exclusive. I was like, no, actually, that's not the direction they went. Now everything is open. Yeah. So I explained that all to him, and he was unaware. So hopefully he goes to your humangarage.net.
Yeah.
It's .net, right?
Yeah. So you're talking about the German education system?
Yeah. So German education system, World War I, Germans had a tough time with their soldiers, so they integrated a different schooling system between World War I and World War II that taught the soldiers basically how to listen to orders, and that's how they had more success in World War II. But the Americans borrowed that philosophy. A lot of Germany came to America after World War II, including the entire food supply is from the war. So instead of producing tanks, we then started producing tractors. The Germans invented poisons for the chambers and for the concentration camp. All of that went into our food supply. Because when you have an industry such as war, you can't just close down the companies that were producing weapons, producing poisons, producing all of the things necessary in war. You take that and you translate it into society. And so a lot of the war machine went into our farming system. And that's why we no longer use regenerative farming where the soil is harmonious. We use machines to till and destroy the earth, to destroy the biome of the earth, and we spray it with chemicals because of the war. But I did want to say that the school supply, or the schooling, like you said, was mixed, and that separating from family is like, that's how you overtake an entire culture, right? You take people away from the grandparents, away from the parents, so that you can teach them what the history of the people are, and you can erase anything that they would have learned from the family, and you can in one generation completely reteach a civilization of people new values, new story, new agenda. But I did want to, huh?
what they just did right in front of us.
100%
We just
correct,
we
Rob.
watched it.
Right. I mean, that's what school is. It's not necessarily for our benefit. Like we go to school, we think it's good for us. Just like we go to the doctor and they give us a pill and we think that medicine is health. If you Google the word health, you're going to get images of like the RX prescription label,
Well,
and everything's backwards.
yeah. So you know, from a you know, I talk about this a lot. There's not a test in allopathic medicine that can tell you your state of health. It can only tell you how close you are to death.
Right.
And every test will tell you how dysfunctional you are, but there's not one that combines and tell you function. So natural and holistic practitioners put a whole bunch of subclinical tests together, match it with blood to say, this is how close you are to death. This is how you're working. And then they make an assumption, say, this is how you can be healthy. That takes a lot of work, but there's no simple test to do that.
I went to school. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I went to school for psychology, and it's the same thing in psychology. Everything's about abnormal psychology and dysfunction, and it's just about studying all the things that can go wrong with somebody. At least that's how it was 22, 23 years ago when I was in college. It was,
well, that was psychology back then, but now it's math. So it's social studies, it's chemistry, it's everything is about how wrong it is.
Yeah.
That's why you know what, and with all respect to the millennial generation, I don't blame them, but they come out pointing at everything that's wrong. You disrespected me, I don't feel good. I'm like, man, if I'm that powerful to take all of your emotions and with a single word change your emotions, that means I control you. I just have to keep spouting out, and I mean that's what Donald Trump does. He just keeps ripping out and saying stuff because he's not illiterate. He sounds illiterate when he talks, but he's not. He's super calculated in what he says and how he says it and how he repeats it. This is not an accident, because he knows how to drive up the emotions. But if I can say a single word to you and then make you feel angry, that means that I control you. I control your anger anytime, and I can just take it out and say, okay, angry, push. And this is part of it, is the self-governance that we didn't learn because we were set in these rules. Here's an analogy. Have you been to like India, Bali, or China and seen driving?
I've been China where everything's just doing this.
Yeah, it's just like boom, 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 boom. Especially in the country, or India, they virtually have no accidents in India or Indonesia, and they're like, it looks like ants, but everybody is conscious. So what we do in North America is we have these very strict rules that if you don't follow them, you're going to get a ticket. And we have more accidents per capita than infinitely higher than India, where it's all going like this, all over the place. And the reason why is because we set a set of rules that takes away the ability to self-govern. No, you didn't follow the rules, so this accident is your fault, but I'm still the one hurt as well. And this is what we do in school, is we set a set of rules on how you're going to communicate, and everybody follows the rules, but then nobody really knows how to make those rules work. And they don't know how to personally communicate. They don't know how to express themselves. And that's what we're dealing with in Scorpio right now is boundaries, because I don't know how to express myself anymore.
That's interesting, because then we become obsessed with somebody else not following the rules. And when I went to China and we were crossing the street and there were cars like so there's 200 people trying to cross the street, and then there's cars trying to go in between the people as they're crossing the street. They're going in between. And I remember even myself thinking I was kind of like getting a little irritated at this car going through the people, but I was noticing that all of the Chinese people could care less. They would just walk around the car, let the car kind of squeeze in between the people. Nobody was banging on the hood. You shouldn't be doing that. If that was in America, people would be jumping on the car, trying to basically make this person feel bad and shame this person for breaking the rules.
Yeah. Yeah. And wait, Ron, wait till hopefully this summer you guys will be able to visit us in Canada. You want to see rules. Canadians follow rules right to the end. I mean, it's insane. I mean, there's a joke that we have. It's like 4 Canadians come to a 4-way stop and they're like, no, you go first. No, you go first. No, you go first. And it's like 8 hours later. No, you go first. You go first. They don't move.
That's yeah. I mean, that's the dehumanization of humans, right? Like we're being civilized. We're being controlled. We're being put into a cage, and then we start looking at others outside the box, outside the cage, and we start trying to pull them back down with us because we're really searching for community. And man, there's so much cancel culture going on, right? It seems to be like that's the standard that people live their life is how wrong they can make other people.
How do you talk about a lot of controversial, and if you guys aren't following Raw, you got to go follow him. But you talk about a lot of controversial stuff. So the cancel culture community must come up and snap you once in a while, right?
Yeah, but you know, it doesn't personally affect me. I was getting newspaper articles written about me 15 years ago, and it like I've learned to deal with haters. I know it can affect some people. I went through a process of not reading comments to now I can read them and be okay. It became a practice, right?
Yeah.
How can I take somebody who's being so vicious at me and agree with them?
Yeah.
Because
yeah. That was my, hey, by the way, that's my last 2 years because I didn't have that much social media as we grew, took me into a new type of exposure. I was used to it in my scientific or my peer group world, and I could just dominate them with fixing the body and they couldn't. So that it's like, okay, whatever you want to say, it's like, okay, go ahead, do it. You know, like get off your Pontus ass and do it. But when I got into social media, it was like Jason, like literally there's this PT in Quebec, Canada, and I'll try to remember his name. It's No Bullshit Physio.
yeah, no bullshit physio.
Yeah, okay, and he was trying to take me down to the point he researched my background and went to find out, and he was asking people in the community looking for a weak spot, like he was out to get me, right? And I just was so wanted to make peace with him that I tried everything. And then every time I did it, it just gave more fuel. And then I'm like, Jay just kept talking. He says well, I'm going to answer him this way. I'm going to answer it this way. And then Jay's just finally like, you got to stop answering it. And yeah, furthermore, you got to stop looking at it right now. And so it was like Jason and Cynthia talking me off a cliff, because then they would like, you know, you're fat, how you can talk to people. You know, like you don't have this, where's your degree? And I'm like, and then this is a little physio in Quebec, and he really has no power. And
right.
But I was letting him affect me, and I had to work my way through it, like you said. And now I can, I don't actually take much very seriously, but it's a skill. You have to have some time away from it.
He tagged me in a post because he started in the butthole torque, the rectum torque. Yeah, and he tagged me in something, and I so it came up in my actual inbox, right? Because he made a post about it, and then I just laughed with him about it because he was trying to say how it was bullshit, and I was like, yo, of course it's funny, of course it's hilarious, like, and we kind of just went back and forth. I was just having fun with him. I wasn't trying to argue back with it. And then he deleted it and said he was going to make a new post the next day, and then he just never did anything with it.
Yeah, because it wasn't fun. He wasn't getting the reaction. He's the bully.
Yeah, I mean, if we can agree, if we can learn in our communication to agree with somebody who's arguing with us, that's essentially what they're after. Their fuel is the disagreement. So
but
when
you have
agree
to do
with
it
them,
more than just words. You have to feel it, because if you use
right.
words and you don't feel it, they're still going to attack.
Of course, and there's a faking it before you make it, right? That where you are just using words. But no, I generally seek out the harmony. How can I find harmony with this individual? And in fact, this is actually the only real way to to have a discussion or to argue is to see their perspective. And then from their perspective, you can now have a sane discussion. And
That's
there's
your
so many.
Grandmaster Libra, man. It's like you have such a balanced approach to life. That's why I respect you so much. I mean, we all have a role in a professional team, and
Right.
we're on the same professional team. And my job is breacher, to go through the door. So I put on the helmet, the bulletproof suit. I bang the door down and go through it. That's literally my job. So my nature is not to have that balance. But that's why I respect you so much, because you have the ability to do that. For me, I'm like, shut up.
I need to remember that not everybody's like me, right? So even when I'm talking, I'm like expecting everybody to get it. But you're right. We do have different roles and we're going through different progressions in our life. And I'm really good at finding the harmony in all things. Like being able to sense both sides. Like that's the Libra in me. And that's actually my preference. And maybe it's not always the case, the stance that's best. But that's what I find very easy to do.
At the end, well, okay. Yeah, there's a point where you just have to push through a wall, because somebody, in that contemplation of trying to balance, somebody's just going to go back and forth. And sometimes fire or burning something down allows you to move forward, because it's based on an old premise or stuff like that. But that's why we're on the same team. That's why I hang out with you. That's why we go on vacations together, is because that allows me the ability to sit back and see you work, and it gives me a little bit softer side. But which I use a lot. I think of you when I think of you honestly when you're like siding with somebody, and sometimes I'm in those situations that I go, what would Raw do? But my job too, though, in that as a team, then you can do that, and you can be at your perfection, and I can be at my perfection punching my head through a wall.
Right. Yeah. That's the roles we play. And that's the beauty about life, is we're all a little bit different and we're all experiencing things differently. And that's like astrology, and that's all real. I mean, that's another thing that I was taught not to respect is astrology. And I used to think that no matter what astrology sign that you read, that it's going to apply to you. And that was the game. That was the way that they tricked everybody, is they convinced us that it was specific to your sign, but it would have worked for everybody. And it absolutely doesn't work for everybody. It's crazy how specific it is for the actual person it's meant for.
Yeah, and this is part of the right now we have people can do it if they want to go to our website, go to our products and partners in Serious Joy. They have these 40 days of truth and purpose. So Chris Witecki put a cipher in, which is basically, it tells you how to decode the chart exactly using the words that people resonate with to understand themselves or to understand them. So it's like a formula. You just, if you're like 29 degree, you put 29 degrees Sagittarius in your sun and do that, and it gives you a statement that you read. And that I spent years and years learning how to talk like that. But yeah, so that's as part of it is having the tools, and this is why he's taken his whole type of reading and how he reads astrology so well, and he's made it this cipher that you can use it in any situation to understand anybody. But it is precise. It is exactly to like when I was looking at Carolina, it was so awesome because I totally get her now. Because as a Pisces, I didn't get her. She's not like the other Pisces around my life. But as with all that Aries and mastery in her Aries, I'm like, oh yeah, I understand that. That's more like me than it is like them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the benefit of partnership too, is you get through the union, you start to understand at least one other person. And then somebody like you, your job, your role is to help many people comprehend themselves. And through self-comprehension, people gain power, they gain clarity.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's really it is. Self-comprehension is standing outside myself. It's observing myself. Because I have a big feeling, my brain's job is to explain the feeling. And if that feeling gets too big, my brain can't explain it. Eventually, I commit suicide. That's how the feeling matrix goes. And the only way to resolve a straight line is a triangle. So that's me stepping outside myself, which is my neocortex, my pineal gland, my neocortex. I stand outside and separate from myself to observe myself. Now I can understand the pattern. This is what we have over top of an animal.
I feel that once we get that self-conception, then we're able to duplicate that and start comprehending others. And I then feel that as we master the comprehension of others, then the concept of self grows. We
Yeah.
start to grow. What was once just what's important to me is all that matters. We start to grow into other people and eventually the world and the universe as a whole. And that's where this function of a Godhead comes in, right? It is one with all. And we can go in that direction by really harmonizing with ourself first, and then we can expand out into the other individuals in this sphere that we're in.
Yeah.
Not globe, but just field of energy.
Well, yeah, because every person is just a reflection of me.
Right.
And that's why I said I learned a lot watching you interact, because you have this peaceful demeanor that lets all conversation happen, and that's a reflection of me, and that's also a reflection showing me that I don't do that a lot of times. So it's giving me the ability to say, when should I do it, when shouldn't I, because I can't be exactly like you.
That is an important concept, that everybody that ends up standing in front of you, everybody that you meet is important. They're important for you, and you're just as important for them. They're there for a reason. And so even just like you said, recognizing the value in just watching somebody is allowing you to know yourself better. And if we can start practicing that, the ability for us to know ourselves enhances. And it basically, every interaction is that. And it expands past people. It's movies, it's books, it's when I stubbed my toe, how did I react to the rock? Did I blame the rock? Or did you pick it up and throw it? Or did you try and tell somebody else they shouldn't have put the rock there? Like, what happened inside you? What do you learn about yourself in every situation?
That's been a big journey for me, because especially when it comes to physical stuff, I'm a perfectionist in the body. And so when the body doesn't perform in any environment the way, my tip might, damn, I want to blame something else. But this last 3 years have taught me that even what I thought was an injury, like my hips have been off for so many years, that just moving the structure around wasn't working. They're still off. So I smashed while climbing. I smashed it, bruised it all the way down there. And I'm like, at first, I'm like, okay, I know this is good. It doesn't feel good. But what that did is allowed all the blood to rebuild in the tissue over there that had been compressed for all those years. And that's how my body started to shift. But I needed that smash. So even every accident was something that my body needed. Now I have two choices when I have it. This is there to teach me, or it's there not. Like when I was, when the feds locked me up, I was in solitary confinement. I'd been in there, I don't know, maybe like 3-4 months to myself. I took it upon myself to write 1,000 reasons why this is good for me. And the only person that would come around and talk to us was this preacher, what do you call him? Father, priest. So, and he'd come around and console us and talk to us and talk through the door. So I'm like, I got somebody to talk to. I'm going to talk to this dude. And I told him I was doing that. And I showed him, I read it. And he stops and he goes, how is it that you're able to write 1,000 reasons why this is good for you when you're locked up in solitary confinement? And he said, even by my records, you don't belong here. And I said, you're a man of faith. And you're telling me not to have faith? I'm having faith that this is an experience. I mean, it was so foreign to him because the physical circumstances were so extreme.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason, and everything's happening perfectly as it should. So, and that's great. I'll give you another example. Saturday, I was at an event, and I was speaking to somebody who just got out of, I think, her 3rd round of chemo that morning. She has brain cancer, and I asked her, I said, do you have, what's your concept of why this is happening to you? And I like asking that question to people, just, you know, because number one, they might teach me something, but also it just gives me an awareness of where they're at in their journey. And she said that because she got sick and she has this brain cancer that she's battling, that all the people around her started coming together, people that hadn't talked in many years, and they started coming together. So she said, I really think that my role is to bring community together. She actually owns a yoga studio. So that is her role. She said, my role.
So very, very, do you know her birthday?
No, I don't even know her. It was just like, I met her. This is the conversation I had 2 minutes after meeting her.
I bet you she's a Leo, or a Leo rising, or a Leo moon.
She said
or
that,
an Aquarius.
just to finish off, she said that, well, she's probably one of those, yeah. She said that her role is to bring people together, and this is helping her do that at an accelerated pace. And I was like, wow, yes, thank you for sharing that.
Hey, Rod, I know to be respectful of your time, I know you've got to go right now, right?
Yeah. Enjoy,
okay,
everybody.
Hey, thank
you,
Rod. Such a good conversation.
Yeah.
It was really good shooting the shit with you. These conversations are awesome. Somebody says I love Lucifer. I do too, because without him, we wouldn't have God.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Whew. Why do you say Leo? Because Leos are the heart. They bring everybody around, you know, and when a Leo's in power, they realize when a Leo is not in power, they feel like they're not being heard, they're not being seen. Everybody does something, they're not listened to, they're not important. But when they step into their power as a Leo, what happens is they realize that their job is actually like the heart. Leo is the heart. And without the heart, none of the other organs work, even the brain. Like you can have the brain dead and you can still have the body stay alive for years, you know, like 20, 30 years. We have examples. But if the heart dies, the body dies. So the Leo is the center of that. The other ones that tend to do that are Aquariuses, right? Yeah, Aquariuses. Okay. I have a feeling here. It's like talking about industrial cities, extreme weather conditions. Oh, Elam, guess you can't do it. I was going to hit Elam. Okay, so where is that 29-degree Scorpio? Come on, back over here. I want to talk to you because I don't know. I think I have it. You said it before, and for some reason you haven't reached out yet. But I do want to talk to you here. So if you're there, put it in the comments. Where can I learn more about myself as a Cancer baby? You know, the best way to do it, honestly, if you really want to know about yourself, the astrology is a really powerful way to do it. If you do it right now, you get too far, you're going to miss a lot of it if you do it next week. But this week, if you go to our website under our products and partners and go to Serious Joy, sign up for and once you sign up for the app, you get the 40 days of truth and purpose. And every day there's a discussion about what the energy is of that day, and you get to read your chart. It teaches you about the house system, the step system. It teaches you about the astrology, and you learn yourself inside out. It's the most powerful tool because one of the things that I was weak in astrology is the house systems. And I realized as I was using the cipher today, oh my gosh, it's making me understand the house systems. So I encourage you, if you want to do that, it's $4 for the first month. If it doesn't resonate with you, you can get off of it. But I'm pretty sure Satan means adversary. I don't know, actually. That's a good part. I don't know. I know that we demonize evil, or we demonize darkness as evil, but without darkness, light doesn't shine. Light is what shines against darkness. Without darkness, light doesn't exist. Darkness has been around for a long time. Light's the new kid on the block, right? And so if we don't have the darkness, we can't even operate in the light. So the darkness is a component, and it's important, but it's not evil. Now, evil is the judgment of the darkness. And if you judge darkness, it will do things to step in and, let's say, educate you, which may feel like hurting you. Hey, do you think Geminis are hated? No, Geminis are often loved, but it depends on who. I get along with Geminis. I understand them because they're the opposite of me, right? My last wife was a Gemini, and it was funny because I could see myself acting. Geminis are great communicators. They're great thinkers, they're researchers. They know stuff, and it's where it gets frustrating is like they're doing this, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go do this now, and I'm like, well, I just got my whole life aligned to do this with you. Now you're doing this. Today is my birthday. Today is my birthday. Jennifer.
Well, hi. Can you see me? There we go.
Dan. Well, hi.
Hi.
So I don't have to. You don't have to tell everybody what your birthday is.
My birthday.
But
Yes.
are
Today.
you're 9 degree, right?
I'm a 9 degree, so technically tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, technically your birthday is tomorrow, but today's your calendar birthday.
Yes.
So, because when you said today's my birthday, I'm like, wait a second here. She's a Aries Scorpio. So, are you feeling it? Do you feel like you're crossing over, or do you feel like you're still in the shit?
A little bit in the shit, but I feel like it's coming. So.
Well, yeah, I think by the end of the day tomorrow, you'll go, woo, got my legs.
I've moved to the other side.
So you're in Minnesota, and for those of you guys who don't know, Jennifer hosts classes and coaches and works with people in Minnesota. So if you're anywhere in Minnesota, you got to come out. So what's it been like now? I think it's almost almost a year of teaching classes.
Yeah, not quite a year, but we started early this year with classes, and it's been really fun to meet new people, and it's been growing pretty big. And now we have 4 lifestyle artists that are all in the coaching program with you guys right now, and we're all kind of doing our own classes and kind of expanding, so it's really fun.
It is. So it was really nice to meet your husband. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a 28-degree Scorpio.
Yeah.
He's teaching me a lot, and I don't like it, but it's good.
So now I know what it is. You just don't like being taught.
Well, apparently, maybe not by everyone.
By him.
Certain people that I'm close to, I think, is the key.
So what's been going on since you left Joshua Tree? You're part of that crazy bunch of people that left Minnesota, drove 30 hours to Joshua Tree to drive 30 hours back.
Yeah. Well, the event was amazing. Met some really cool people, but I was way more emotional at the event than I thought. I actually had to step away from the group of people and kind of go by myself a little bit. Just all the emotions just kind of started to hit me, whether it was all the things other people were holding. I'm sure some of it was my own. And by the end of, seeing a bunch of you afterwards, and then it was great. It was great for my husband to see why I love doing this stuff. He actually said when we got back, he's like, I see now that this is what you're supposed to do in the world. And he's like, I'm 100% behind you. And
How'd that feel?
Felt really good. Which he's been behind me, but he doesn't understand some of the shifts I've made, I guess, in the last couple of years. So it's been a really hard marriage. We almost, wanted to get divorced this last year, and it's just been all over.
So why would you want to? That's a good point. You got it. You got in. You started taking care of yourself, shifting your emotions, your thoughts, your perceptions, and why would you, as you're getting better, why would you feel like you might want to get divorced? Like what was driving that? I remember talking to you about it.
Good question. I don't know. It's, and he kept asking me the same thing. He's like, he really wanted to know what exactly is it. And I said, it's not that he obviously loves me immensely and I love him. There's just something inside of me that felt I needed to like break what this whatever it was, this connection, I need to be free somehow, and I need to do it on my own, and I can't, I don't want to be with you or anyone else kind of a attitude.
So it wasn't like get divorced from him to be with somebody else. It was like trying to find yourself, right?
Right. And I don't know if this is an Aries thing, but
oh yeah,
I very much like am the warrior that like, I'm just like, I'm going to do it myself. I don't need you. I don't need anyone else.
That's totally the Aries thing, man. I got into my ego. My ego is like, I don't need anybody. And then after everybody's gone, I'm like,
where is everybody?
Where's everybody? They all left me alone.
I know. But then I have this, my moon is Cancer, and it's a 10-degree Cancer. So I have this heart that's all emotional. And so when I'm around my family, and I have four kids, and a lot of them, 3 of them are teenagers right now. And so like, I just feel everybody's everything. And like, I think it brings me back to when I was a kid, where I probably chose to disassociate from my emotions and my feelings because it just was too much. And so every relationship I've ever been in, if I'm feeling what I don't want to feel, I'm like, I want to run away, and I'm like, I'm out of here, see ya.
So that's a fair statement. Right. Anybody in the comments who feels like that relationship, when you feel the way you don't want to feel, how many of you want to run away? Put that in the comments, right? Because that's actually a really good point. So what do you do when you feel that? Like, what are you used to? You'd run away, right?
Right. And honestly, for a long time, it was very empowering to me. Like, I felt better when I got away from everyone, and I'm like, I'm doing my own thing. No one's gonna get in my way. And I would get into this flow, and it'd be amazing. And like you said, like eventually it was like, where are all the people? And I'm lonely. And like, there was part of my heart that was like, I don't think I want to be alone and do this by myself. So why do I keep doing this? And it's, and I mean, that's kind of the realization that I've come to this last year, especially, I mean, September was like, for me, September Virgo was like hell. I had so much rage and anger come up and things that I'm like, where the hell
remember
is this coming?
I remember talking to you.
I'm like, why is this coming up? And, I tell people all the time, in healing sessions, and I've had so many mentors that do energy work on me, and they're like, you just need to feel emotions are energy in motion. You just need to feel it and let it go. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And then they come up and I'm like, oh, I can't do it. And I push them down. And so I just feel that month was like, sorry.
So what did you do? That's a good point. So it was a pretty intense month for a Scorpio and an Aries, I for sure. But so what did you do during that month when those emotions came up? How did you stay functioning? How did you not run away? What was your practice? What happened?
Well, I gave myself grace to say, listen, you're just going to feel these. I didn't leave my house, but I did go by myself, like either in my room or on my like deck outside. And I just cried, but we say like the ugly cry, like yeah. I was screaming, crying, like, and then I have this feeling like, why? Why is this so terrible? And I had to really change my response to the feelings, because I'm all about affirmations, and I've done that for years, but it's the response that my mind is saying when the emotion is happening that I'm like, go away. Why is this happening? I don't like it.
So someone said, did this stress reset help? So like you were teaching classes still then. What was the fascial maneuvers in teaching classes? How did that interact with that?
Well, I mean, the stress reset's amazing. So like that really helps me reset all the time. But because, when your system is in fight or flight or freeze or fawn or whatever one, I've had all of them, your whole life or your whole adult life or whatever you want to say, I need to do it a lot. Like I needed to do like probably 10 times a day.
But you were doing it a lot, right?
I was doing it a lot, but the classes, it was just an added connection to me. So
was that actually being and doing fascial maneuvers with others in a group, was that actually helping? Was that actually like, did you go to a class, teach it, and go, okay, I feel better about my life for a day or two?
Yes. Yeah. There was something about doing it with other people that was very impactful for me. Because, I mean, whatever, this Aries energy my whole life, like I was a 3-sport athlete. I worked really hard. I became a coach when I was in my 20s. So I coached sports. And so I was like trying to empower and instill that fire in other people. And I do like team together, everyone achieves more. But for me, I was like, not for me though. I like do it myself.
So you're going through all this stuff. Okay, you had this looming, I want to even get divorced, or I don't know. So how did you go from there to it? It felt like you guys are really together now.
Yeah, I think it just opened up more communication between us and sharing our emotions. Like he went through his, this last 8 or 9 months, he went through his own
Hold on a second. I missed it. He went through his own, and then it cut off for a second.
Yeah, I was saying he was just calling me on the phone right now. I said that was weird.
Oh, no, that's not weird for a 28-degree Scorpio. He knows you're talking about him.
He's already sensing it, right? But
Hey,
yeah,
certified health nut, by the way. I like your content.
Yeah, he went through his own changes. Because he was a pretty dark, depressed person most of our marriage, and I just kind of had enough because I already was trying to heal myself, and to be around frequency that was so low and how much he didn't like himself. I was just like, I'm out of here. Like, you're
going to like yourself and building your self-confidence and your self-worth and treating yourself better. And he just went the other way for a while, right?
Yeah, for a long time.
See, but isn't that what a perfect teacher or parent partner relationship would do? Because it gives you the space and reflection.
Yes.
When you were down, you started climbing out, you started taking care of yourself. That's how you got into fascial maneuvers, how you got into the human garage, the coaching program, and then he had to go on his own journey. And by you pulling away, it forced him into his own journey of self-discovery. And then all of a sudden he's coming back up. So you went like this, then he went like this, and you held your frequency, and now he's coming back up. And that's what I saw in Joshua training.
Yeah. Yeah, and he just finished his 28-day reset, which I never thought he would ever do it because whatever. That's just been the cycle that we've been in. He's just like doesn't want to do a lot of things for himself. And he just
Does that make you feel more supported?
It does. I mean, last week when we got back from Joshua Tree, when he was saying like, I'm really proud of you and I know this is what you're supposed to do in the world. And he's like, I want to do it with you, but if you want to do it on your own, you can do it on your own. And I was like,
God, that's a 28-degree Scorpio, man. He's like, I want to do this with you, but if you need your space, I'll give you your space.
I was like, what is happening? I was like, how can I leave this? I'm like, I'm just like, oh.
Wow. I mean, that's a big journey. That's got to feel really good. How do the kids respond to this now? Because they got to feel the change in your energy.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think they feel it, but I think there was a little, because there was a time. So when we thought we were going to get divorced, we did tell the kids, and then we retold them now that we're not. And I think it's causes a state of confusion. Is this for real? And a little bit of a resentment because we both said we had our own issues. So it's like we were pointing the finger at each other that it was one or the other person's fault, because it wasn't. But so I think they're just starting to kind of balance back out. It's just going to take a little while.
Yeah, I mean that's right. I think it'll be faster than you think, because when you're both on the same page, it's a healing environment, and the kids are there feeling the confusion, both trying to feel safety and also trying to. Kids naturally are trying to teach us a lesson, even if they don't know they are. And so now that you're both in that environment of taking of working on each other and working together, that brings the whole family together. Oh, look at that. Isn't that funny? Your internet went right at that message. That's funny. Let's see when it comes back. So what I've noticed, everybody, is that, when somebody is not, when the message is at that level, that intensity level, and there's something being delivered, sometimes I could feel it welling up, and then the boom, you hear that goes. That was pretty cool, actually. So, my divorce, Jennifer, we'll continue that conversation. It was super powerful. I am super happy. When you were like, I want to divorce my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh. And for those of you guys who are asking, she's a Sagittarius rising. I want to divorce my husband. Oh my gosh. This is not what I want to hear, but I know it's something you have to go through, right? and I'm glad that you guys are at this stage. You're both doing it together, which is super powerful. I always felt that us kids were at fault, even 50 years later. Yeah, that's a pretty common thing. Like because again, it's like I want to kids self-internalize the stuff from the parents, right? The traumas. How do we check how hydrated we are? Hey, Dr. April. That was a great conversation. Happy birthday, almost. Oh, there you are. Let's finish it off. Let's finish it off. Okay. Right at that one point. So to finish this off, to tie a bow around this, you went your way. He went negative for a while. He's coming back to your side. You held your frequency and staying positive, taking care of yourself, doing fashion maneuvers, helping others. And now the family's starting to come back together. And it's your birthday today. Well, technically.
And it's my birthday. And then on my step birthday, 9 degrees, I'm shaving my head.
Are you?
Yes, I think so. Well, it's a decision day today, so I
okay. But you're gonna do it live?
Live? I don't know if I should do it live. But
so why are you shaving your head?
Well, like we were saying in the beginning about, the Aries energy, and I've noticed that, I guess I have a really big ego, which I don't like admitting to, and my ego really is big on judgment, and not just judging, like thinking people are going to judge me, but how I will judge myself in the end. And it seems silly, but something like my hair, that's something physical on my body, to just get rid of it.
That's a life switch, and that's a powerful thing to do it voluntarily, not to be forced or not to do it for someone else, but to do it for yourself.
Right.
That is a grand master step of a Sagittarius.
Oh, it's going to be interesting. It's hard because, I haven't told a lot of people, but like my family I've told, and, I already have a few people saying, why would you do that first? And then second, thing. Like, do you know how many people are going to say you have cancer or whatever, all the different things that come with it? Yeah. I was like, just because I don't have any hair doesn't mean any of that. Like, I just don't have any hair, And so I was
Jennifer,
like,
that's, I have so much respect for you, because like I got one of my humbling lessons with my teeth, but I got it not voluntarily. I didn't try to do it. I contributed, but I didn't try to do it. And I didn't say I'm going to do this for this lesson. And the power of taking something like that, which causes a constant reflection in your life. It's a super powerful thing to do. I mean, that's unbelievable. I I'm I know that if that's your choice, in either way, if you don't, that's okay too. I don't want to put that pressure, but I think you're here to make that choice. And I'm telling you that the power that comes out of something like that, of doing it voluntarily and willingly, it's like there's 1,000 arrows that you don't have to have hit your body when you take it on the chin. And ego's a big thing, man. I protected my ego, protected it. But I was talking with Ra how my ego got tested in public all the time, and I was doing it more from a defensive perspective. But this is powerful.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It just, yeah, something inside I just know that I need to do. And
There's a lot of fascia holds memory, and our fascia, our hair, and our nails are the extensions of the fascia. That's literally connective tissue. It's extension of our fascia. It's out there. It's like Samson, in the Bible, his hair was his power. And when you take away your own power to grow new power, and honestly, the old you died. I saw it. I watched it happen. And now you're with your husband, building a new relationship. Man, there's a thing in law, in bankruptcy law called privity. I want to go forward without privity, which means I don't want to take the past into the future. And that's what I hear you saying.
100%.
Wow. I'm honored. I'm honored to be a part of this journey, watching it.
Thank you. I'm honored that I have you and all the Human Grudge team and all this community to, there's just even though I don't communicate a lot, I'm kind of in the background because I get overwhelmed with a lot of the talking in the communities and stuff. I appreciate it, and it really does help me to know there's a bunch of people on the same frequency as me, so that helps.
That's awesome. You got to get good video of it, though, because this is a story. This is a story you're going to tell that will change people's lives. The willingness to step outside of yourself and to develop a new ego, because that's literally what you do, is you develop a new ego through that process.
Right. Yep. That's the hope. And I appreciate you letting me come on my birthday. And so I think I'll probably do it when it turns to step 9 degrees, probably when I'll shave my head.
Yeah. That's the right time to do it, because that's your moment of change. You're right at this is the mastery in you and your chart coming out. This is the 11th hour, 59th minute, and 59th second. Because once you're starting your new you, and I can't think of a better way to do that than to take away everything that was in the past. And there's so much memory trapped in there. I think this is the transition that you've been looking for.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, I look forward to watching it on video.
Okay. I'll tape it. Thanks, Gary. Have a great day.
I appreciate you and your husband both. Tell your husband he's a really, really cool guy. I really, really enjoyed having him around.
I will. I'll tell him.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.